Hey guys, we are live. Thank you so much for joining me today. This is Spencer Bonin from Victoria, BC, out here in Canada, your emotion and body code practitioner. So today have the absolute pleasure and honor of having just an absolute powerhouse of an entrepreneur on my show where I get to conduct an interview. So it's my first ever interview. I'm super excited to be able to get right into this. And so just a little bit about Todd. He's just amazing. He's unreal. He's an amazing transformational leadership coach. He's just so inspiring in everything that he does. And he's not only like the author of an amazing book. This is the book, by the way, You versus You, 12 Ways to Kick Your Own Ass and Win. This is my favorite part. It has a little working with Todd. He has let's freaking do this, bud.
Let's do it. Let's do it.
Let's go.
Yep.
And aside from that, he's also the co-founder of a new upcoming amazing institute called the Inside Out Institute. So without any further ado, I'm not gonna talk about yourself. I'll let you talk about all of yourself, and you just let us know who you are and a little bit about yourself.
Sounds good. Well, hey, Spencer, thanks so much for having me. As you said, I'm an entrepreneur, and I just kind of did the college thing. And my dream was, growing up, like I write about in the book, I was introduced to like personal growth when I was in the 8th grade by a teacher of mine. So I started reading like John C. Maxwell books and stuff like that. And I went to college on a basketball scholarship, and my dream was to be in the NBA. So I'd work really hard and play on my driveway 4 or 5 hours a day in high school, and that kind of kept me in a good kind of path, and didn't do the drugs or drinking, kept me focused. My role model was definitely Michael Jordan, and just wanted to be like Mike back. I mean, we're talking the 90s, so how could you not like Mike during the 90s? And, went to school and played for Liberty University. But then I was sitting in my classroom because I was a marketing major. And I'm not kidding. Like, this was one of the classes. This is when I knew I'm done. There's like saying, if you really work hard, you're going to get a job. And in your cubicle, you should get good calendars like of Hawaii, so that one day, if you work hard enough, you can actually go to Hawaii for a week and you get a week off. And I'm just like, look, I don't want to live that life. And I don't want to live literally like The Office, my favorite show in the world. But I didn't really want to be a Jim or a Pam in real life. I wanted to be a business owner. So for the past 17, 18 years, I've actually been quarantined, if you will, but I've been working from home for about 17 years, doing my own thing, being an entrepreneur, learning how to get out of my comfort zone, learning how to be a writer, an author now, of course, but it's taken many, many years to kind of overcome myself in that you versus you battle, to have really the courage to step into. And it's still every day it's, I have to step into courageous things, and it's definitely not easy being an entrepreneur, but it's definitely worth it, because yes, it is unlimited income if you're good, but at the same time, it's just all the freedom that it has, instead of being told what to do and stuff like that. So I just have always enjoyed it, and I love sharing my message. And if I can do it, anyone can do it. I don't come from any type of I wasn't given an inheritance. I wasn't, I was raised on a farm, basically, so in cow country. So I had to work hard for everything that I have today, which is good, because anyone can do what I've done, which is obviously, hopefully that's inspiring, because, sometimes you hear these success stories, but then you get the real story behind the story, and you're like, well, wait, his dad gave him all this money, stuff like that. So I was basically homeless when I started all of this about 18 years ago.
Wow. Just incredible. Oh, and that's one of the reasons why I say you are so inspiring, because I've read the book. There's so many amazing stories in there about your life and everything like that. And it's so cool, because you really get to see, the battle, even just in yourself, like the people that people go through with themselves, in the everyday battle of life. And it's so cool for you to be that vulnerable and really show people where you were at and how you did it, and things like that. So absolutely incredible. Now, one thing that's really, really big, and I kind of mentioned it earlier, is how you are the a co-founder of this amazing institute called the Inside Out Institute. How did it come about? Because obviously you and I are working together. It's recently been featured in so many things. It's been in Fox News, it's been Yahoo Finance, American Reporter, CBS News, California Herald, the Disrupt magazine. Like, the list just keeps going, and it keeps going on and on. And clearly it's emerging during this whole COVID session, or this COVID time. But is that really like where it started? Like,
no, not at all. I think well, it's first of all backing up the whole why I even helped kind of find this whole Inside Out Institute. It was just called Inside Out at the end of 2019. Yeah, end of 2019. And that came from a lot of frustration. I was a life coach before. About 5 years ago, I actually kind of launched my life coaching, not knowing really what life coaching was. And I don't regret anything, but I think I got certain clients that really didn't have the entrepreneurial spirit, and they just wanted me to kind of hold their hand and not really do anything. And I think sometimes people have this perspective of, if I just pay somebody, like if I pay a therapist or I pay a counselor, they're supposed to fix me. And if that was so easy, then you'd see all the rich people being the most incredible people on planet Earth, because they could just pay to get fixed. But yes, it's a part to pay someone for their services, but you have to show up 100%. You got to do what kind of is told of you or asked of you, etc. So when I got into this life coaching thing, I didn't realize it's going to almost take the life out of me. So that's why I'm not a life coach anymore. What really happened in my life after that, a couple of years ago, is I had to really transform my life. So I think we all go through not just one transformation in our lifetime, we go through many transformations in our lifetime. If you look at a movie character protagonist, they're the ones that are going to be the star of the movie. And one of my favorite absolute movies of all time, and nobody really talks about it that much, is Batman Begins with Christian Bale. And every Batman that Christopher Nolan did in that 3 trilogy series was a transformation of Bruce Wayne 3 times over. You see Batman Begins at the very beginning. The first 15, 20 minutes is insane personal growth, how he literally walked away from his wealth. He, went to like a jail, and then he like transformed, and then he did the right thing. And that's what made him overcome his fears of bats, and of course, becoming the Batman. And it's my favorite superhero, even though he's not a superhero, he's just a normal person. So it really inspired me to continue to look at the areas of my life that I'm fearful of, and that what are my bats? How can I stand in full power of the bats? But I didn't want to be the life coach anymore. So after months and months of frustration and meditation and just wanting something bigger, I launched Inside Out. And then a wonderful friend, Manuel Zavaios, actually reached out to me at the beginning of this year. And he happens to be one of the top body code practitioners out there. And learning what the emotion code is, and learning what the body code is, and reading the book by Dr. Bradley Nelson opened up my eyes to not just the developmental of a leader and how to be a better leader, but also the fact that if you still have emotional baggage, if you can get rid of that, you're going to be even a better leader. So we look at the times now and all the things that are happening in this world, and we it's just, I don't want to talk too much about that, but at the same time, it needs to be acknowledged that a lot of these people are frustrated and mad. A lot of people in general, whether you're white, black, or Asian, or any different background, it's inherited. A lot of our emotional baggage doesn't come from ourselves; it comes from our parents, it comes from our great grandparents or whatever. And then we also have our own emotional baggage. So how can I become a great leader? How can I become a great writer or author or Batman, if I have so much emotional baggage and I don't know what to do with it? And at the same time, even if I'm fully healed, I still have to pay the bills. I still have to pay the rent. I still have to go after my dreams and goals. So it's really an incredible kind of yin and the yang that come together to help show the real you versus you, is how to heal yourself emotionally, but then also have the strategic way of winning and defining your own success and overcoming, your obstacles, and really reaching your full potential in life, because life is so short. So that's why we're so passionate about what we do, because we only have about 900 months to live in our whole lifetime. So it's just a matter of not worrying and not losing years and years because of emotional baggage, or not knowing how to lead ourselves properly.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's so cool. And it's so amazing, because right now it's very inspiring. Like I was saying, like, clearly it's emerging during COVID, which is the other craziest part, right? Like, all this crazy stuff going on out there. And it's like, meanwhile, we're just over here making this crazy thing, just changing people's lives, where we're bringing that, the subconscious healing with that transformation leadership coaching. And it's just amazing. So, one question I really have is, for someone who may be watching this or watches it in the future, like, what makes a person like a good fit for that program? Like, what what qualities or like what is it that is going to really make them take full advantage of that thing?
Yeah, there's a lot of people. I would say most people are good people, and then when you really talk to most people, they do have a heart to help others.
Mm.
But I think the greatest challenge is a lot of people don't know how to help themselves, and they really can't. How can you help yourself? There's certain parts of life that I don't know why it is what it is, but the reason we call it inside out is because we believe that you and I and everyone else has every ingredient in their body to become the next legend, the next Martin Luther King Jr., the next Gandhi, the next Abraham Lincoln. Like, we have it inside of us. But the challenge is, if it's only us, we can't pull that out of us. We need mentors and coaches that really can see that and have that perspective, that kind of third party, non-biased perspective of seeing how great we really are and keeping us accountable. So our program is really for people that maybe are tired of just trying to do it themselves, and they're kind of raising their hands and be like, look, I can't do it on my own. And it's not just about like praying about it, because someone that maybe believes in God, I'll just pray about it. Yeah, but God's not keeping you accountable every day. He's not there, coaching you on the phone, just saying, you got this, So that's the spiritual part of it. And there is a spiritual warfare happening, but at the same time, there's a practical war happening, and it's called paying bills and having kids and working out and, meditating or not meditating and really gaining control of your subconscious mind and believing in yourself and having self-confidence to overcome. And that's where we come in. Not that we're replacing any of the spirituality side of it, but we're really taking the practical side of what can you do, shifting your perspective, and then also helping you heal on the emotional side with our certified practitioners. So you have the certified practitioners on one side, you have the leadership transformational coaches on the other, all coming together with the accountability, with the mastermind group, with the culture of leadership. And it's just nothing like I've ever seen before. So we're super proud of it. And I think that's why, this week we'll be in USA Today, Business Weekly. We're in 7 more articles. USA Today is one of the biggest platforms. A couple of weeks ago, we're in Yahoo Finance. They did an article about myself and also Emmanuel and Inside Out. You don't just get on Yahoo Finance, if you're not doing something right. Or you get in Yahoo. Yeah, you can't really get in Yahoo Finance if you're not doing something right, unless I guess you did something very bad. But and they're exposing you. But yeah, it's a great article. Very proud of it. We have a bunch of other articles coming out this week and next week. Forbes is coming out soon, the Forbes article. So we're just really excited about getting noticed, obviously on a national level. But at the same time, we're gearing up for our second round, and that's going to be incredible. We're in 6 or 7 countries right now. So we're in the genesis. And what I mean by that is we're just in the beginning. Like, this is so exciting. We got staff calls every day. We have 5 C-level people, including myself. So we're really targeting these kind of people that I'm talking about that are just so emotionally drained. They want help. They are in their head all the time, but they know they have massive potential to be leaders. They want to lead themselves. They are ready, but they just don't know what that looks like. So those are the people that we really want to connect with and maybe just talk to and just see if there's anything that we can do to add value to them at that time.
Perfect. And yeah, like even for myself, before I joined, obviously I was, an emotion code practitioner, still am an emotion code practitioner. Right. But throughout my life, I've done lots of personal development things, lots of different things like that. But until that whole, the emotional baggage thing really came into play, I didn't really see any results. But then at the same time, I almost went all the way to that side where I was like pretty much like all subconscious work. Like I was always working on like, oh, what's my subconscious or my emotional baggage. So I was almost like very much on that one particular side, and I was missing the transformational leadership coaching with someone who can be like, hey, here, this is what you need to do, this is how you need to imply it, and then also giving that tough love a little bit sometimes when we really need it. So I know for me, for that reason, for the program, it's been amazing. So
yeah, a lot of people say, I just have to, and this has nothing to do with you, but a lot of people say tough love. It's just coaching. I think so many people don't have parents or don't have any guidance. If you look at movies or Rocky Balboa and stuff, you look at his trainer in the movie. I know it's a made up character, but it's a beloved character in America and all over the world. His trainer before he died was, all in his face. If you look at every NBA coach, you look at Phil Jackson, they just did the Bulls series. on Michael Jordan, like Phil Jackson, you know, sometimes got in people's face a little. And it's not a mean thing or a bullying thing too. I think people sometimes even are afraid of that accountability. Like it could be like a Bobby Knight throwing chairs or something. But, you know, we are conditioned. You know, the human race is so conditioned right now. They're so conditioned by the media. They're so conditioned by negative news. And like Dr. Joe Dispenza always points out, that we can be conditioned so much that we get addicted to it. We get addicted to being lackadaisical. We get addicted to being average. We get addicted to being apathetic. And then we start blaming others. And I've seen that so much, the victim mentality of just like, well, and then we make these excuses up. And if we're not open and humble and just be like, look, I don't want to be that person. Who wants to be a victim? And we all know people that are victims, and we want to run as far as away we can from these people, especially when you're awake and you're doing the work on your interior, which obviously is showing on the outerior. On the it's so kind of repulsive to all of us to be around that. It's all someone's fault, or it's the president's fault, or it's this person's fault. It's just like, oh no, it's not. If your life stinks, it's your fault. It's just end of the day. If my life sucks, it's my fault. It has nothing to do with my parents. Has nothing to do with my wife. Has nothing to do with my kids. Has nothing to do with my bank account. If I don't like my life, it is my fault. Now, people can also take advantage of you if you let them. They can hurt you even outside of your control. But that's just also life too. So I think the best thing anyone can ever do is just take full responsibility of their life and say, look, for things to change, I must change. For things to absolutely change in my life, I need help. And I think one of the hardest things, especially as men, Spencer, and I like being real. That's just who I am. I hate sugar-coated interviews. That's why I'm so glad you interviewed me today, because you're the least of that. You're absolutely always so real and authentic.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Men especially always have a problem asking for help. And I think men, going back to the superhero, like the Superman and all that stuff, what does Superman do? Does Superman ever ask for help? Heck no. Does Iron Man ever ask for help? No. It's always about like, are you there? Okay, yeah.
Oh,
cool.
yeah.
So it's always about like, how can I help it? I'll just do it. I'll just step up. I'll just be a man. I'll be a man. And that's the worst thing a woman can say to a man is, why don't you just be a man? You know, it's like, well, okay, but as a man, it's okay to ask for help. It's okay to ask for another man's help, or another woman's help even, because I've had a woman coach too. There's nothing wrong with that either. As a man, I love having a woman coach. So anyway, I hope that helps your followers, your listeners too, that in this time right now, I believe it's imperative for us to realize that we can't take this all on ourselves. In fact, it could give us a nervous breakdown if we are just, looking at this all day long and feeling like we have to take it on ourselves. I think it's, and of course the spirituality side of it is just, let go and let God. But the reason he created us is to help each other. And we're all brothers and sisters, honestly. So we're all here to help each other, but you just have to want it before you actually can receive it.
Totally. And one thing I will say about that as well is like just being in that group of people that are positive mindset all the time, like having someone to call, like, if I'm having a bad day or something, I can call Ballwinder, or I like to call him Bally, or Ashley, or, anyone along those lines. And, they're there to pick you up rather than put you down. So, and it's so incredible. Now, I think you've already kind of answered my next question, which was, like what sets the Inside Out Institute apart? Obviously we talked about the, the conscious and the subconscious. Before we end it, what I'd like to talk about is kind of like what your actual experiences with the emotion code and the body code. Like you had mentioned that you had spoken with Emmanuel Zavaios, and obviously he's the other co-founder, the chief healing officer, if you will, of the whole program. When did you hear about it? How did you hear about it? What happened as a result? Like, if you're comfortable sharing some awesome results of yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. And it just comes down to like being a leadership coach myself for 17 years, being in like things like network marketing and being a millionaire earner, 7-figure earner. And it was so frustrating too. Like being successful had its, weight to bear, because a lot of people would come and go and quit. And I just couldn't understand. I'm like, why are people quitting all the time? And, they look the part, smell the part, they want it. They want to change their life. They want to be financially independent, but why do people always quit? Why? but they didn't have the emotion code, and neither did I at the time. So I just thought it was something I was doing, or I had to be more aggressive, or I had to be a better leader, or I had to, I don't know. So knowing the emotion code, knowing the fact that, of course, I was open up to this over 5 years ago through meditation, through understanding the subconscious mind, and that there's two parallels. That's why my book has a brain. You versus you is both subconscious and conscious. And also being mentored by John Maxwell years ago, and actually working for him, everything does rise and falls on leadership, but there also is the subconscious side. So it's so like if I'm depressed because of my past and I can't get past my past, how can I step into my full power of leading myself effectively and also leading others? I can't help others if I'm still living in my past because I don't have a certain future. And I'm starting to get into that addictive of apathy, which is a natural human instinct. So that's why things really shifted for me 5 years ago when I read Dr. Joe's book, Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself, and then meeting Emmanuel, knowing what he's doing. And then him doing sessions on me and how it's impacted me is just discovering more why I'm doing the certain things that I'm doing. And I'm still doing that. It's that discovery part of, these are my percentages. This is what muscle testing is showing. Maybe I'm not as confident in myself in this area. Why is that? Okay, let's get that up to 100% confidence here. Okay, good. Okay, we got that done. Here's some curses that might be on my life right here, my inability to maybe be my fullest self or full happiness. Okay, let's work on that. We're at this percentage. Let's get to 100%. So it's very practical based on science. That's why Dr. Bradley Nelson wrote the book as a doctor, a chiropractic doctor. It's not the woo-woo stuff. It's not like I'm seeing a psychic. It's actually science, and it's getting real information real time that is allowing me to shift and make that transformational change almost immediately, because self-awareness leads to the choice to change. Without self-awareness, how are we ever going to change? We can't. You have to have self-awareness, both on the conscious side, but also on the subconscious side.
Totally. And just for everyone who's wondering, this is the book here. So the emotion code, Dr. Bradley Nelson. Also, this is a pretty fun little bit right there. I don't know if you have anything to say about that. But
well, Tony doesn't do any forwards. So I wanted him to do my forward on my book. And, Tony's the #1 coach in the world and the most famous.
Yeah.
He never does forwards. Name one book that he did a forward in the past 10 years. Can't name it. But he did this one. So that really caused me to open my eyes back early 2020 to dive into it without how people are, Arthur Schopenhauer, who was a philosopher, said, once something really comes to fruition, usually it's violently opposed and then eventually becomes self-evident. I don't like to violently oppose something, even if I don't know it. I like to, especially if it has like Tony Robbins and, if he buys into it, then at least I'm going to look at it and not be like, oh yeah, that's all woo-woo stuff. Many people said meditation was a bunch of woo-woo stuff, 5, 6, 7 years ago. Now it's like everywhere. You can't go on Facebook or Instagram without seeing a meditation app or a post about meditation because it works. It's been around for thousands of years. Well, the emotion code is no different.
Yeah, totally. It's been incredible so far. Like, man, I could go on about it, but I will not do that right now. Yeah. So, I mean, just curious, like, do you have any like fun little like stories of like something tangible that someone can like really relate to, like a fun little story of like something that you noticed right away from an emotion code or body code session? Is there anything that kind of pops into your head?
Yeah, it's a sense of inner peace. I think a lot of times, people might say like, what's more important than money? Not a lot. There's a few things that are more important than money. Money is obviously right up there with oxygen, like Zig Ziglar always says, but there is a few things more important than money. It's our soul, obviously, and it's obviously the spiritual side. But one practical side, what's more important than money is inner peace. And if you really look around the world, there's very few people that have inner peace right now. So for me, I struggle with it every day. I was able to get off some medication in the past, cold turkey, some Xanax stuff. And my dad is like this, like all the time, like shaking, takes tons of medication. It's definitely inherited too. So I struggle with a lot. That's why I probably wrote the book You versus You, because I struggled with that battle. But one of the things I just love is meeting with Emmanuel and even other like yourself and other practitioners that we have. And just that inner peace. Like when you go to a massage and you have that 90 minutes, or I hate 50 minutes. I love 80 minutes because it's so like, wow. So you just feel at peace. You don't even realize like you have any problems, and everything is just so good. I think on the emotional side, when you have these sessions with a practitioner, even if you're like walking into it full of anxiety, you just feel like so much better. Sometimes it is emotional because you are dealing with some high level things, but it just really calms you down. Just like meditation, it lowers your brain waves. It helps you get out of fight or flight. And that's what these sessions do for me. And believe me, I need a lot more than one. But the more that I have, the more I realize what I need to shift and why certain things keep showing up, and how to change it, and how to improve myself, and also how to improve my results on the conscious side too.
Perfect. That's awesome. Well, that's amazing. So, thank you so much for being on here. Before we wrap up, and as we wrap up, I'm just going to ask one more question, and that is, if there was one thing that you could tell anyone who's watching this, like the number one thing that you could tell them, about whatever the message that you want to give, one thing and one thing only that you could say, what would that one thing be?
It's really about money. There's only 3 ways to spend your money. And I think once people get this, it's life-changing. A, you can buy clothes, a car, a house, and all that stuff is totally fine. B, you can do the Robert Kiyosaki thing and just buy homes, and you could even make investments, especially right now in the stock market, it's exploding. But A and B, they don't necessarily change your marriage. They don't change your life. They don't change your inner peace. You can make more money, but that still might not change your inner peace. But C is when you put your money into a system or a coaching practice, or, even if you want to be a coach or practitioner, you're investing in yourself, because once the 6 inches between your ears are completely growing every single day, and you have a system where no matter what life happens to you on the outside, you're always going to be bigger than whatever's happening to you on the outside, on the inside. And money can't buy that. No one can take that away from you. And I think that's where you could do whatever you want with your life. You can have inner peace. You can start a business. You can attract the right people. You can travel the world. Everything you've ever desired is not through anything else other than putting your money where your mouth is and investing in yourself in something like this, because it's everlasting. I mean, even not just on a worldly scale, what you do here, like the Gladiator, great movie with Russell Crowe, talks about, is echoes in eternity. So what you do on earth will echo in eternity, good or bad. So if I'm going to put my money anywhere, it's going to be obviously in myself first and foremost. But that's not saying I'm not going to buy a nice thing. Of course, yeah, it's not only that, but put it first in you. And I would say most Canada, they've never had a coach. They've never had a practitioner. They just think, go to school, get a good job, work there for 40 years, and you'll be fine, is the biggest lie, I think, in our culture today.
Totally. Yeah. It worked before. It doesn't really work these days anymore.
No.
Perfect. So, I mean, aside from that, I have a little banner here, but, one last thing, where can people find you? How do people find you and get a hold of you, or, ask you questions, or just get inspired from your posts, because they're amazing?
Sure thing. Well, right here is on Facebook, but I think the best thing is, go to my Instagram, Todd M. Cahill, has the link to Inside Out Institute, or the InsideOutInstitute.com. You could see some of our press. You could see a little bit more about Manuel, myself, our practitioners, our leadership coaches, and how awesome they are and what they do in their background. I will just say what we're creating is crazy. I mean, it's amazing. No one else has what we have. Either you have a leadership coach or a head coach, but never has there been a everything under one umbrella. So we are really raising the roof on that, but it's definitely not easy. We're coming together, and we're already in 6 or 7 countries, and we're just really relying a lot on our great leaders that we have, not only our C-level people, but people like you, that are phenomenal what you do. You're passionate. You have a huge passion to help people. And it's because of we wouldn't be in existence if it wasn't for the Spencer Bonins of the world that are just so sacrificial, and they're team players, and they love what they do, and they love truly serving others on the practitioner side. And that's what this is all about, is to get a lot more Spencer Bonins in the game all over the world, so people can heal from emotional baggage, and then also get a bunch of leadership coaches out there that they know how to overcome their themselves, and win the battle of you versus your dreams, and you versus your success, and you versus your persona, you versus your knowledge, and create new experiences that create massive momentum in their life.
Amazing. So amazing. Perfect. Well, with that, I mean, thank you so much for being on here today. Like, I cannot thank you enough. This has been such a pleasure, such an honor, and so fun. Like, wow.
Yeah.
But aside from that, I'll let you get back to your day, and thank you so much for taking the time to block out and be with me today. Aside from that, if anyone has any questions, go to check out his Instagram, check out his Facebook, check out the insideinstitute.com. Yeah, any questions at all, let me know. Send a comment, send me a message, whatever it is. Aside from that, I hope you guys all have a blessed day, and we'll talk to you soon.
Thanks for having me. Thank you so much.
You bet.